A luxury car saleswoman thought she could judge a customer by their appearance, and when Sandra Bullock walked into the dealership wearing a hoodie and cap, she dismissed her without a second thought. But what she didn't know, she had just made the biggest mistake of her career. But when Keanu Reeves walked in did something that left everyone speechless, and you won't believe how this. Historians, what happened next turned into a scandal no one saw coming. Before we continue this story, let us know what you're watching from, and if you enjoy stories like this, subscribe to the channel, because tomorrow we have another special story for you. The parking lot OFD luxury dealership reflects the opulence of its clientele, gleaming cars arranged like jewels. On display, the mirrored glass facade catches the Klersky as a discreet SUV pulls into a spot near the entrance. A woman steps out dressed in a blue hoodie and a black coiffure. Movements are calm, her posture hurried. She gently closes the door and adjusts her sunglasses before making her way toward the showroom entrance. Inside, air is thick with the scent of new leather, and the cars glisten under the showroom. Lights, employees in perfectly tailored suits move between offering them strategic personalized attention. Sandra Bullock enters, unnoticed. Her gaze sweeps across the cars, genuine interest flickering in her eyes, but no one seems to pay her any mind in this dealership. Appearance matter. Well-dressed men with and women in designer dresses glide between the vehicles. A salespeople carefully select whom tosses near the service desk. A saleswoman in polished high heels scans the showroom identifying promising clients. Her eyes briefly land on the casually dressed woman in the hoodie and cap before dismissing her with a well-rehearsed smile. She approaches a couple clad in branded outfits, engaging them in warm conversation. Sandra continues walking through the cars, analyzing their specifications and feeling the texture of the interiors. Her eyes lock onto a luxury convertible. Its details make it irresistible. The white leather seats, the polished exterior, the sophisticated start. She steps closer, her fingers grazing the handle, yet no over to assist her. After a few minutes, Sandra decides to seek assistance. She approaches the service desk, just as the same saleswoman from Lear finishes speaking with the wealthy couple. Upon seeing Sandra approach, the saleswoman expression shifts, ever so slightly polite but dashed. "Hi, can I help you?" she asks, adjusting her name tag. "Sandra," guessed the rest word the convertible. "I like that model. It available." The saleswoman glances briefly at the car, then back at Sandra. A subtle, almost imperceptible smile tugs at the corners of her lips, but her eyes betray a hint of judgment. "Oh, that's one of our most exclusive models. It comes with a premium package. Maybe I can show you some more affordable options that might suit what you're looking for." Sandra keeps her expression neutral. "I'm really interested in this Sony. I'd like to know more about it." The saleswoman hesitates, as if debating whether it's worth spending time on this customer. Finally, she exhales softly and concedes, "All right, I can show you this, but just so you know, this model comes at quite a high price." Sandra smiled slightly. "That's fine. I'd still like to learn more about it." The saleswoman swallows hard. Sandra follows saleswoman to the car, listening intently as she explains the details. She asks about engine performance, interior materials, and customization options. With each question, the saleswoman looks increasingly surprised. "You seem to know a lot about cars," she comments, trying to hide her astonishment. Sandra shrugs. "I like talk know what I'm buying." The saleswoman forces a smile. "While this model offers exceptional drivability, but of course it's a car designed for a very specific clientele." Sandra ignores the implication and runs her fingers over the leather steering wheel. Feeling its smooth texture sounds great. "Is it available for a test drive?" the saleswoman lets out a short laugh, as if unsure she heard correctly. "A test drive? Yes. I'd like to see how it handles on the road." The saleswoman hesitates. "Normally we only test drives for clients with serious purchasing intentions." Sandra raises an eyebrow and, "I don't seem serious." The saleswoman backtracks. "Oh, that's not what I meant, it's just Athos's model has very high demand, so we're a bit more selective with test drive. Sandra remained silent for a few moments, simply observing. Being the woman, she notices the discomfort in the saleswoman's eyes, the way her body language tries to mask her initial judgment. Finally, Sandra offers a slight smile. That's fine, just put me on the list of interested buyers. Saleswoman looks relieved, but before she can respond, a male voice interrupts. Sex me. Do you have this model available for a test drive? Sandra turns and sees a well-dressed man with neatly styled hair and an expensive watch on his wrist. The saleswoman's demeanor shifts instantly, her smile. Becco Miska Nguyen, her voice more enthusiastic. Of course, sir, I can arrange that for you right away. Sandra watches scene unfold without a word. She simply observes as the man receives a completely different level of treatment. As the saleswoman eagerly sets up the test drive for the new customer, Sandra remains composed. She glances back at the convertible, then at the saleswoman, who doesn't even bother to finish their conversation before shifting her attention to the wealthier-looking client. Sandra slides her hands into the pockets of her hoodie and tilts her head slightly as if confirming something to herself. I guess that makes things pretty clear, doesn't it? She murmurs under her breath. She turns and begins walking away, unnoticed, but before leaving, she casts one last look at the convertible. Her interest hasn't waned, in fact it has only grown stronger. The difference in treatment did not go noticed. What the saleswoman didn't yet was that she was about to discover exactly who she had been interested in. Sandra is interested in a luxury car. Will she be assisted before an unexpected twist reveals who she really is? Sandra remains near the luxury convertible, taking in every detail when the saleswoman returns. Her smile is forced, but this time she doesn't even try to hide the condescension in her voice. So, are you still interested in this model? Sandra keeps her gaze steady. I'd like to take it for a test drive. Saleswoman raises an eyebrow as if Sandra just said something ridiculous. A test drive? Yes. I want to see how it handles on the road before making a decision. The saleswoman lets out a smell-a-mist laugh. Oh, so you actually want to drive this car? Sandra doesn't react. Yes, the saleswoman crosses her arms and leans slightly forward, her fake smile and completely gone look. I don't know if I made this clear, but this model isn't for just anyone. We don't let just any artist drive it this time. There's no attempt at subtlety. The insult is direct. Just anyone, Sandra repeats slowly. The saleswoman tilts her head slightly, as if Sandra should already understand, which means, yes, this car is one of our most expensive models. People who test drive it are usually pre-approved customs or have an established trade relations with our brand. Sandra stares at her for a moment, processing every word. So only pre-approved customs can test it? Exactly. Sandra takes a slow step forward, net breaking eye contact. But that guy over there, she gestures subtly toward a well-dressed man, speaking to Anather Celeste. He doesn't look like a long-time customer. The saleswoman doesn't even glance at him. Oh, he fits their profile. You see, we can tell he's a qualified buyer. Sandra exhales a quiet chuckle. And my profile isn't qualified. Saleswoman finally drops the mask look. Don't take it personally, okay, but get a lot of people who just want to take these luxury cars for a joyride. Do no, take some pictures, post online, and I'm sure you understand what I mean. She emphasizes the last phrase with a pointed look, as if giving Sandra a warning. Sandra notices that several customers and employees around them are beginning to pay attention, but the saleswoman doesn't care. Honestly, I think you should consider another car. She continues, her voice oozing fake sympathy. We have an amazing selection of models that might better suit your lifestyle. Sandra remains composed. And what lifestyle would that be? The saleswoman lets her gaze drift obvious lighto, Sandra's casual hoodie and cap, something more affordable. This time, it's not just a suggestion, it's a dismissal. The saleswoman isn't just underestimating Sandra, she's actively trying to push her out. Sandra doesn't flinch. She crosses her arms and tilts her head slightly. So you're saying ya want, let me test drive the car. The saleswoman smirks, taking clear satisfaction in what she's about to say. That's exactly what I'm saying. Their response is quick, cold, and final. Sandra feels the weight of several curious eyes watching them. Some employees exchange glances, realizing the saleswoman might have just gone too far. But the woman doesn't back down. She steps back, arms crossed, and delivers the final blano. If you'll excuse me, I have real customers to attend to. And with that, she turns her back on Sandra. No hesitation, no second thought. She immediately walks toward a wealthy-looking couple and greets them with warmth and enthusiasm. Difference in treatment couldn't be more obvious. Sandra stays in place for Emma. Feeling the silent attention off the room on her butt, her face remains calm. She has seen enough. Before leaving, Sandra walks up to the reception desk where another salesman watches her, looking a little uneasy. Is there a problem, ma'am? He asks hesitantly. Sandra smiles. I just want to confirm something. What's the official requirement for a test drive? Here the salesman shifts uncomfortably. Well, usually we require some proof that the client has a serious interest in purchasing. Proof? Like he hesitates even more. A document, a history of past purchases, or a down payment to reserve the car? Sandra nods slowly as if absorbing the information. And did the saleswoman mention any of that to that couple over there? The salesman falls silent. He realizes Sandra is right, but before he can answer, the saleswoman storms back into the conversation. Ma'am, I already our policy. Let's not waste any more time. Sandra looks at her completely unfazed. The saleswoman crosses her arms agent and delivers one last vicious mark. But if you're really looking for a car, maybe you should try another place. There's a dealership downtown that sells models that are more within your reach. You think you'd like it? She smiles smugly, as if she's doing Sandra a favor. Sandra just smiles back. Thanks for the suggestion. And without another word, she turns and walks calmly toward the exit. Leaving, she stops for a brief second at the door and looks once more at the luxury convertible. She's still interested, only now there's some things she wants to do. She has a plan. The saleswoman, still grinning in satisfaction, focuses her attention on the wealthy couple again, but then something changes in the atmosphere. An unexpected presence is about to step through the dealership doors, and when he does, everything will be turned upside down. Samra decides to test the integrity of the saleswoman by requesting a test drive of the most expensive model. How will the saleswoman react to this bold request? The dealership moves along. As usual, wealthy customers browse the cars. Salespeople and Ivet between them, and the arrogant saleswoman carries on as if nothing had happened. Sandra, however, has not left the dealership. She simply took a few steps back, unbothered, showing no visible indignation. But inside, she knew exactly what was about to happen, and then the automatic doors of the dealership slide open again. The atmosphere shifts subtly. A tall man, clad in a black leather jacket and sunglasses, strides in with calm but purposeful steps. His slightly tousled dark hair sways. As he moves, he doesn't need to say a word. His presence immediately comes. The saleswoman in the middle off, speaking with another customer, glances toward the intransabsent mindedly until the man stops in the middle of the room. His gaze scans the space until it locks onto Sandra, and then with an easy natural smile, he speaks. Hope I didn't keep you waiting too long. Bullock. It was like a bomb detonated in slow motion. Inside the saleswoman mind, Bullock's name thundered in her head. She felt blood drain from her face. Her eyes widened in pure shock. The woman in the hoodie and black cap, the one she had humiliated, the one she had refused to serve, was Sandra Bullock. The next few scans stretched into eternity. Customers around them froze. Murmurs rippled across the showroom. The saleswoman couldn't breathe properly. She felt the crushing weight of every single pair of eyes on her customers, employees, even the manager. Everyone realized at the same time that she had made a catastrophic mistake. Sandra, however, was not surprised at all. She held a slight smirk, simply watching the reality sink in for the saleswoman. Keanu, still unaware of what was going on, grinned warmly as he walked up to Sandra. "Good to see you, Bullock. Did you pick out your cart?" Saleswoman felt her stomach drop. She tried to speak, but her throat was dry. She didn't know if she should try to explain herself, pretend nothing had happened, or just collapse from embarrassment on the spot. Keanu finally noticed the sudden awkward silence in the dealership. He frowned, looking around. "What's up? Why does everyone look so tense?" Sandra smirked, and for the first time turned directly to the saleswoman. Whoa, now looked as pale as a ghost. "You think someone just realized they met the worst mistake of their life?" The saleswoman gulped, but she couldn't say a word. Keanu followed Sandra's gaze and finally noticed the woman trembling with nerves. "Do you work here?" he asked, still unaware of the full story. The woman forced a nervous smile. "Yes, Mr. Reeves, welcome. It's such an honor to have you." The sudden shift in her tone was so extreme that even the other employees screamed on her behalf, but Sandra wasn't going to let her off the hook. "That's easily funny now. I seem to have thyroid profile to be served, huh?" The saleswoman held her breath. She was trapped by now. Everyone in the store had figured out what was happening. The employees stepped away discreetly, leaving the saleswoman alone in the fire pit. Keanu felt the tension and looked at Buin, Sandra, and the woman. "What's going on here?" The saleswoman started sweeting. "Nothing, just a little misunderstanding, Mr. Reeves, ha." Sandra let out a dry, amused laugh. "A misunderstanding." She took a step forward, then explained to me why just a few minutes ago I couldn't even touch this car, and now all of a sudden you're The saleswoman began, stammering. It wasn't like that." Keanu looked between Sandra and the woman, finally putting the pieces together. "Way too refused to serve." Sandra, the saleswoman, tried to recover. Yes, he just didn't know she was." Sandra crossed her arms, finishing the sentence for Herrick. The saleswoman shut her eyes for a second, feeling the sting of the blow. Keanu sighed heavily, shaking his head. "This still happens." Sandra smirked victorious. She locked eyes with the saleswoman and delivered the question the woman feared the most. "So tell me, can he take the test drive now?" The saleswoman nearly choked on her own breath. I, of course. We can arrange that right now." Sandra arched an eyebrow. "Now I can." The saleswoman nodded frantically, trying to save herself, but Sandra pretended to think for a moment. "No thanks, I'm not interested anymore." The saleswoman looked horrified. "What?" Sandra smiled even wider. "I prefer to buy from people who treat me well, from the start." The saleswoman's face twisted in pure despair. She opened her mouth to try to fix it, but there was nothing left to say. Sandra turned to Keanu and shrugged. "Show we go." Keanu let out a low chuckle and shook his head. "Absolutely." The saleswoman stood there frozen as the two of them walked toward the exit, but just before walking through the doors, Sandra paused. She turned one last time to the woman and flashed a sharp smile. "Oh, and thanks for the suggestion about the Keeper dealership, but I think I'll just buy straight from the manufacturer instead." The saleswoman held her breath, feeling the final crushing blow, and then without another word, Sandra and Keanu walked out, leaving the store in absolute silence. Now that everyone knows who Sandra is, how will Keanu react to hearing how she was treated? Dealership is still in shock. After Sandra and Keanu's triumphant moment, customers whispered to each other, employees exchanged nervous glances, and at the center of it all, the saleswoman reigns frozen as if still trying to process the disaster she just caused. She feels her body trembling, but not from cold, from pure shame, regret, and absolute fear of the consequences. Then Keanu stopped walking right in front of the exit. He didn't leave. He turned around slowly and fixed an intense gaze on the saleswoman. The woman swallowed hard. Sandra paused beside him, sensing what was about to happen. Keanu slipped his hands into his jacket pockets, and with a voice calm but carrying an unbearable weight, asked, "So is someone going to tell me what hell just happened here?" The room fell dead silent. The saleswoman opened her mouth, but nothing came out. The saleswoman, realizing she was about to lose her job on the spot, went into full panic mode. Mr. Reeves, Miss Bullock, please. Let me fix this. I can offer you a special discount. Sandra raised an eyebrow. A discount? The saleswoman nodded frantically. Yes, as an apology, a VIP discount. Sandra glanced at Keanu and let out a delighted laugh. What do you think, Keanu? Should we accept the VIP discount? Keanu crossed his arms and pretended to think. I'm debating, do we take the discount, or do we go to a $30 ship and make sure everyone hears about this story? The saleswoman visibly shrank where she stood. Keanu then turned. The manager, my advice, teach your employees not to judge customers by their appearance. The manager nodded quickly, sweating bullets. Keanu gave Asmel's satisfied smirk. Good luck with the online reviews, and with that, he and Sandra turned and walked out the dealership doors without looking back. The saleswoman stood there crushed, feeling the full weight of her mistake burying her. The saleswoman apologizes and promises to change, but is her change a genuine? The automatic doors of the dealership slowly slide shut, leaving behind an atmosphere thick with tension. Saleswoman is still standing in the same spot, feeling the crushing weight of what just happened. The public humiliation, the disgrace, the piercing looks of Keanu Reeves and Sandra Bullock. With contempt, she wants to disappear. The employees around her avoid making eye contact, but the low whispers of customers gossiping about the incident make her face burn with shame. Dealership manager finally breaks silence. My office now. The saleswoman feels her stomach twist, but she obeys without question. Inside the manager's office, the air is suffocatingly tense. Heslams the door shut and stares at her with a harsh, unforgiving glare. Do ya have any idea how badly you just screwed up? The saleswoman keeps her head down, but the manager slams his palm on the desk, demanding an answer. Look at me when them talking to you. She flinches and lifts her eyes filled with panic. We just lost two of the most influential customers in the world, all because you decided to judge someone by their appearance. He takes a deep breath, rubbing his face, struggling to contain his anger. Do you know what that means? Saleswoman remains silent, her anxiety skyrocketing. Manager throws a tablet onto the desk, and on the screen, multiple headlines have already surfaced. Sandra Bullock, humiliated at luxury dealership. Keanu Reeves exposes discriminatory Atrian. Saleswoman denies Sandra Bullock a test drive dealership. Face in line boycott. Keanu Reeves. Saleswoman in luxury car showroom. Each headline feels like a good punch. The dealership is getting massacred online. The manager continues. Her ratings have plummeted, and guess who's going to take the fall for this? Saleswoman feels the blood drain her face. Please sir, let me fix this. The manager laughs coldly. Fix it though? Do you think you can just apologize and everything will be fine? She doesn't know what to say. The manager stares at her for a long moment, then finally, sigh heavily. I should fire you right now. The saleswoman holds her breath, but then Tora surprise. He doesn't say the final words, but maybe there's still a chance. Saleswoman blinks, shocked. I want you to try and redeem yourself, not to save your job, but because you need to learn. Allison, he points toward the door. You're going to leave this office and find a way to apologize genuinely to Sandra Bullock. Her heart races with anxiety. And if I do, the manager crosses his arms, then maybe I'll consider not firing youth sales. One nods quickly and rushes out of the office before he changes his mind. But now she had a problem. How the hell was she supposed to apologize to Sandra Bullock? The saleswoman palms sweat profusely. She forces herself to swallow her pride and finally says, I just wanted to apologize. Sandra raises an eyebrow, but says nothing. The saleswoman mangopes. I know I was arrogant, judgmental, unfair, and I have no excuse for it all. I can say as I messed up badly. Sandra tilts her head, studying the woman in front of her. You want me to accept your apology? The saleswoman nods quickly. Not for my job, I know that's already lost. I just want you to know that I genuinely regret what I did, Sandra. Stay silent for a few moments, then, to the saleswoman's surprise, she gives a small smile. I've dealt with a lot of people like you. The saleswoman lowers her head ashamed, but Sandra continues, not many have the courage to admit when they're wrong. The saleswoman looks up, surprised. Sandra takes another sip of her coffee and places the cup back on the table. Sawyer, sorry, great. Now, the real question is, what are you going to do with that? Saleswoman frowns. What do you mean? Sandra smirks, knowingly being sorry. A easy changing is hard. The saleswoman silent, reflecting on those words. Then, finally she responds, I am going to prove that I've learned. Sandra nods satisfied. Then I accept your apology. The saleswoman feels a wave of relief wash over her. Thank you, Lee. Sandra stands up, picks up her and winks at her. Good luck with that. And with that, she walks away, leaving the saleswoman standing there thinking about what she'll do with her second chance. The saleswoman promises to change, but will her transformation be genuine, or will she be tested again by an unexpected future customer? 1 week had passed since the incident. The dealership had taken a hit both online and internally. Negative reviews flooded in and the scandal made headlines for days. Many customers who had been loyal to the brand now questioned whether they wanted to shop there again. And the saleswoman, she was still employed. The manager had allowed her to stay, but on one condition: you either prove you've changed, or you're out. No second chance. Ash had one shot to show that she had truly learned her lesson, and today, that shot was about to come. As the deal was finalized, the manager watched from a distance, arms crossed. He had been observing the whole time, and he saw everything. When the customer finally left, the saleswoman turned to face him. There was a long, tense moment of silence. Then, the manager smirked. Not bad. The saleswoman let out a breathless chuckle. Thanks. The manager nodded. Looks like you actually learned something. She grinned. Nadia. I think I did, and for the first time in a long while, she felt truly at peace, because she hadn't just saved her job. She had saved herself. That night after work, the saleswoman checked her phone. A notification popped up. It was a new online review for the dealership. She clicked on it, curious. The user Sandra Bullock. Her breath caught as she read the comment. Sometimes the best lessons come from the worst mistakes. I hope they stick. The saleswoman smiled to herself. She had no idea if Sandra truly forgave her, but one thing was certain: had been given a second chance. And this time she wasn't going to waste. If dealership receives a surprisingly poor online review from Sandra, how will this affect the company's future and the saleswoman career? If you enjoyed this story, we have many more that will warm your heart. Click the screen to explore more stories of hope, compassion, and resilience.